What's good, YouTube? It's your boy Nehemiah, aka Neo, and today we're going to be talking about the Philadelphia 76ers. Let me just pull them up right now. So, this team has gone through a lot of changes in the offseason. They were able to trade for D'Anthony Melton, a really good piece. They were able to get PJ Tucker. They also got Daniel House. And again, they just have a better roster than they did before. They have a lot more depth. They have a lot more players that I think that they should be able to run. Paul Reed is better than DeAndre Jordan. And I think that they're just going to really benefit from a lot of stuff that they did in the offseason. However, there's one thing that I want to talk about. Can this team make the finals? I think they can. However, I don't think that they will. And I want to talk about that. I want to talk about their opponents. I'm going to talk about my expectations for this team. So let's just get into it. So I already got James Harden pulled up right now, and there are a couple things that I want to talk about with El Chapo. I don't know why that's his nickname, but Honey Bun is a fun nickname. I ain't gonna lie. But we have two James Hardens. We have the 2022 season after the hamstring, and we have the 2021 season before the hamstring. Now, as we can see, the efficient field goal percentage for both of these guys are night and day. They are kind of wild. The only reason why the difference between their true shooting percentage is not nearly as big is simply because he's getting more free throws. If we're looking at the free throw attempt rate, he's at 65%. That's crazy compared to a 43%, 44%. It's just a massive difference, especially when we consider just how much free throws he's making compared to previous seasons, just how much he's taking, even though it's been like one or two more, considering that this year, I think that the free throw percentage did go down in terms of the rate. I do think that this is going to be a really telling thing about how his efficiency is still kind of comparable to the previous seasons. However, just looking at it just from afar, let me just pull up the stats when he got traded to Brooklyn. So essentially, he was averaging, this efficiency. It's really good, really good. Don't get me wrong. Do not get me wrong. This is a lot better than what he's at right now. However, one thing that this doesn't really tell is his rim pressure, his ability to play make a lot more, because he's able to, draw a lot more fouls, but also draw a lot more attention on the perimeter. So when he does have that ball pressure, he's able to drive a lot more. And while he doesn't get fouled, he will probably get a defensive breakdown, and he's able to pass it out for a couple of players. Something like Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant, maybe even open when he's not able to really score, but he still is able to break down the defense. So I think that's going to be a really telling thing, because we did not see that this season. When he had the ball and he was trying to drive, it looked like he just didn't know where to go. If they didn't call a foul, it looked really, really bad. And while you could say that his assist percentage is still the same, I don't think that it was nearly as impactful as this, especially when we consider how the Philadelphia 76ers don't have as much of offensive options as the previous team, the Brooklyn Nets. But not only that, this team just doesn't really have the most rim pressure when it comes to James Harden anymore because of the hamstring. He doesn't have that explosiveness. He doesn't have the really scare factor when it comes to the free throws. Yes, he's been getting more free throw calls as the season has progressed, but even in the playoffs, that number just dipped. It dipped to wild percentages. He needs to be at like 6 point, or he needs to be at this percentage and not 6.3. 6.3 is too low. He needs to be at 7, 8, 9 for him to actually make a big difference on the court. So I think that's going to be the biggest difference with James Harden. Is his hamstring going to be okay? Is he going to be able to, provide a lot of ball pressure, a lot of rim pressure, and is he able to, become an effective playmaker after the preseason, or after the regular season, excuse me. And I think that's pretty much the biggest thing with James Harden, because once this avenue of rim pressure, once this avenue of being able to, kind of break down the defense at will, that's when we get a guy like Tyrese Maxey. We've seen his playoff stats before. 21 points per game score on, I'm pretty sure he was like really good from the true shooting percentage. Yeah, about 60. Oh wait, no, that's the regular season. Yeah, 61. That's more like it. Yeah, because his first couple of games with Toronto, they were really good. I do want to pull up his stats against the Miami Heat, though. I do want to talk about the Miami Heat series, though, more specifically because, again, a lot of these stats are from when he wasn't playing with Joel Embiid. So he was really just getting doubled a lot, and it just wasn't the best. And I do think that he can improve, especially in the last 3 games. He was not going off as he should have. But again, he's a younger player. I think that he could still just develop a little bit more. He was a really good improvement over last year because look at the difference. I think he improved a lot more, like on the court. Essentially doubled or more than doubled his points, and was a little bit more efficient too. A lot more efficient, excuse me. And I think that this guy has what he has in him to make him like a really good star in the league. I think that he could even be an all-star next year, depending on how good he is when it comes to his kick and drive game, when it comes to his overall offensive package. I think that what I would expect him to do more is go for the 3-pointers. I expect him to essentially like play like a pseudo James Harden role. I think that he probably will play best like a James Harden to Dwayne Wade kind of situation, but instead of him just being like more of a rim pressure guy, I think he's probably going to settle more for a lot more threes, and I think that's going to be a lot better. And I think that they do work well. Don't get me wrong. Let me just pull up the stats when James Harden got traded, because I'm pretty sure the first 5-6 games he was going off. He got traded around this time. What time? Well, what? Let me just pull up the exact day he got traded. Excuse me. Yeah, it was Minnesota. Okay, so it's the 25th. So looking at the 25th, like a lot of these games, he was just going off. 24 points per game score on. Look at these numbers, man. Like, I just think that this pairing, once they're on the court together, him and Joel Embiid, I think that this is just going to be a lot more lethal. So I just think that I have a lot of hopes for those guys. D'Anthony Melton, I think that he's probably going to be one of the better players for this position, only because he's a solid shooter. He's a very solid shooter, and I think that he's just able to be kind of that glue guy. And don't get me wrong, the field goal percentage doesn't look the best, but that's mostly because he's taking a lot of threes. If you look at his true shooting percentage, it's at... Oh, really? Oh, damn. Is he a bad free throw shooter? Okay, that makes sense. He doesn't shoot a lot of free throws, so that's the reason why it's kind of low. But you see the efficient field goal percentage. It's still really good. So I really hope that he can benefit from this team because, again, when you got a guy like Joel Embiid, you're probably just going to get a lot of free throws. However, I want to talk about more so my expectations of the team now because I really got pretty much all the roster stuff down. Tobias Harris, he's Tobias Harris. We don't really gotta talk about him. But in terms of their competition, let me just pull it up. Also, ignore these tabs. That's for another video. So when we have a team like the Boston Celtics and Cleveland Cavaliers, I think that the Philadelphia 76ers would play the Cleveland Cavaliers and win. But I would also say that the Cavs do have a really good chance of upsetting that series. The Miami Heat, the Milwaukee Bucks. So these are pretty much their biggest competition when it comes to the people out east. Maybe the Atlanta Hawks. Maybe. And maybe the Brooklyn Nets. I'll just add the Brooklyn Nets. So they have to beat at least one or two of these teams. When it comes to adding this team there and this team there, they have to beat two of these teams to at least get to the finals or the Eastern Conference Finals. And in order to make the finals, they have to beat three of these teams. It could be a path like Milwaukee, Boston, Miami. It could be a path like Cleveland, Milwaukee, Toronto. It could be a path like Atlanta, Miami, Brooklyn. I think that their easiest competition will be the Miami Heat, only because they got worse. They were able to get their main guy in PJ Tucker. Again, a really good addition for them. A guy like Daniel House is also a really good addition. I think a team like Toronto, they already dominated them last year, so I don't really expect that. Also, another thing with the Miami Heat series is that Joel Embiid was not healthy at all. He came back from that concussion or whatever. And I think that if he was really, really healthy, I think that there's a good chance that they get bounced out in six. But that's just my personal opinion. I think that that's just a little bit more projection than anything. But I think when it comes to these teams, except for the Atlanta Hawks, I think that this is going to be where they have really big problems. Brooklyn, can they stop their offense? And honestly, I do think that they can, but there's a lot more to Brooklyn than just their offense that I think that we have to account for. Are they going to be on the court together? Are they going to be, as good as we think that they're going to be? So I think that these are really just a problem teams that they have. I think that all these teams are better. However, I don't think that that is really a big gap. I think if I were to make a tier with these teams, they'd all be on the same tier. And just to talk about their differences, Boston has just had this team's number ever since the get-go. Milwaukee, they have never faced in a postseason before. However, I think that they match up well against each other. So I don't think that that's going to be a really big problem for the Philadelphia 76ers. They are able to run bigger. They could maybe pull off a wall-ish type of defense. But then again, they have Doc Rivers, so you never know. And then we have the Cleveland Cavaliers. Now, they also could pull off the like a similar thing to the Milwaukee Bucks have faced against with the Giannis wall. I don't think that that will work against Joel Embiid. However, I do think that they have enough bodies to like foul, to risk fouls and do all that stuff. But I think that the biggest conversation with Philadelphia 76ers isn't just their competition. It's literally just who's on the roster that could actually, put up some stats. Because they have a guy like Matisse Thybulle who probably ain't going to do a lot. Maybe like Isaiah Joe. I don't think he's going to do a lot. Him. Kork Maz is very iffy. A guy like George Niang is very iffy. Like these guys, they don't have the best depth. I don't want to write off a rookie, but these two also I just don't know that much about. So it's really just going to rely on Tobias Harris, D'Anthony Melton, Shake Milton, the others. I just think that when it comes time to really just be all in, I think they still need another trade. I think that they need to trade rather Tobias Harris or some of the other guys for maybe a better package, maybe a better consistent fit. I think a guy that they should go for is Jordan Clarkson. But again, I think that could be redundant with a guy like Tyrese Maxey already on the squad and James Harden maybe even improving. But I think my biggest expectation for them is at least getting the Eastern Conference Finals. I think when we named the teams I already named, even Brooklyn, even Atlanta, even Miami, I think that they will probably dub two of them. I think that they will. A team like Cleveland, I think I already said that I expect Philadelphia to win. A team like Milwaukee, it really depends because if they're able to pull off the wall successfully, I actually do think that they're going to win that series. Even if Giannis does go, kind of apeshit, I just don't think that Milwaukee has enough offense as we've seen. But again, that could change in the offseason. You never know. But I think ultimately a team like Milwaukee or Boston will eliminate them. And I think that that's going to be probably a big telltale sign. So I think that's it for me. I do really have big expectations for this team, though, because I do think that they could win the finals. I do think so. I think that there's not a lot of teams on the West that could actually compete against this team bar for bar. So, yeah, that's it for me. The biggest thing about the Philadelphia 76ers that sucks is that they had to get rid of Steph Curry. If they didn't, I would have full faith, full confidence in this team. But that's just not how life goes. So, it's been your boy Nehemiah, a.k.a. Neo, and I hope you guys are having a great one.